I perfectly understand that life in the ivory tower of power and wealth is so lavish and comfortable. Tendai Ruben Bafana. I am similarly aware that living an opulent lifestyle of always dining and wining on the most exquisite and delectable expensive gourmets, champagne and wine can easily divorce people from the reality of life in the real world. As such, it comes as no surprise at all that the visiting Botswana President Mokgweetsi Masisi, in the midst of very important person treatment he is being treated to by his Zimbabwe counterpart, President Emmerson Dambudzo Mnangagwa, at taxpayers' expense, has shamefully utterly failed to speak up for the same taxpayers who are enduring indescribable poverty and subjugation at the hands of his host. What are we to expect from those who have spent most of their lives living in ivory towers with silver spoons in their mouths, who now believe that the impoverished and oppressed do not matter and are a mere nuisance, such that raising such insignificant matters in the midst of being driven around in motorcades is an unnecessary inconvenience and disrespectful to those hosting them? Today, Masisi was even taken around the capital of Harare, visiting the National Heroes Acre, where, ironically, he was told about the repressive policies of evil and arrogant white colonists who ruthlessly subjugated and discriminated against the country's black majority and who had to be militarily removed by the gallant men and women laid at the shrine. Of course, for the ruling elite, now disconnected from the life of the ordinary man, woman, and child on the street, after decades of living in immense comfort, leisure and power, I am quite sure that it never dawned on him, not even for a bit, that the same black majority were still oppressed and marginalized, but, this time around, by their former liberators turned new evil and arrogant black colonists. This glaring contradiction obviously never entered his mind. Maybe, if it had been 4, 5 or 6 decades ago, when today's ruling elite were also alienated and treated like second-class citizens in their own countries, well before they entered the corridors of power and wealth, he may have stood with the black majority, since he would have also been feeling the pain and anguish. Maybe, again, that is why these people in power today cannot stop telling everyone who dares to listen, or those who do not even want to listen, but once they switch on state-controlled media, they are immediately bombarded with these stories because that was the time they too were living in poverty and indignity. Now that they are enjoying a life of the rich and famous, only comparable to those in the most luxurious parts of the world, such as Sandton, South Africa, or Beverly Hills, United States, they are completely incapable of noticing or unwilling to notice that ordinary people's struggles and oppression never ended at independence from colonial rule. If they did, then a simple visit to first Mbeere, Mavuku, Highfield, Butteriro, Warren Park, and then turning right straight into the Heroes Acre would have told Masisi that life under independent Zimbabwe had not improved the well-being and welfare of the majority. In fact, most, especially those who lived through the colonial era, can attest to the fact that life has actually worsened. So, before showering the Mnangagwa regime with baseless and meaningless praises and lamely parroting the senseless sanctions against Zimbabwe drivel, Masisi should have questioned his counterpart as to the real reasons he and his colleagues are failing to uplift the lives of ordinary Zimbabweans. Did he even bother wondering how much a country endowed with nearly 60 identified precious minerals was earning with lithium, gold, platinum, and diamonds so far, headlining the Zimbabwe's economy, and where all those billions of dollars were going? Or maybe he already knows, considering that he spent most his time in Zimbabwe being accompanied by the country's ruling elite, obviously being exposed to the extravagance of their lavish lifestyles, whilst the majority of Zimbabweans wallow in abject poverty and any who dare speak up being ruthlessly persecuted. Perhaps, according to Masisi's impassioned speech on the liberation struggles against brutal repression in both Botswana and Zimbabwe, and how they were intertwined, the best thing for him to do should have also been to take a visit to see Job Sakala and numerous others languishing in prison without any trial and consistently denied their constitutional right to bail. Would the Botswana president been able to distinguish between life in colonial Rhodesia and independent Zimbabwe? So, before making a whole lot of noise about so-called sanctions supposedly imposed on the country, as much as a few top officials and entities can never legitimately be regarded to a country, I strongly believe he should be more concerned about the over 1 million, half the population, living in extreme poverty, on less than US $1.90 a day, and 80% earning below the poverty datum line. He should be more worried about those not accessing healthcare due to non-maintenance of public facilities and lack of crucial treatment, who have to endure the indignity of being berated by officials from neighboring countries where they are forced by dire circumstances to seek medical assistance. In fact, does Botswana not have a sizable Zimbabwean population seeking a semblance of a decent livelihood there? I wonder if he has ever bothered speaking with them in order to understand what led them to leave their own homes, families and friends. I would not count on it. These are all the people we can justifiably call the country, yet, who have largely remained invisible to our visiting heads of states, as Masisi, whom, we would like to believe, have the influence required over our leaders. Zimbabweans are sick and tired of African leaders who never stop talking about colonialism and the liberation struggle, yet never give a hoot over the millions still languishing in oppression and poverty in our independent countries.